And I'll go ahead and start sharing here.
Hello.
Share.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Node.js i18n working group. And we are very fortunate to have the phenomenal Stephen Loomis. I have the delay in going on here, so let me turn that off. Okay, hello. So yeah, we have the phenomenal Stephen Loomis here. He's going to give us a walkthrough of what's going on, particularly around Node and how it uses the Intl object and what's going on under the hood. So we're talking about ICU and IC4C and CLDR and all the components and the data that comes together to help us globalize things like Node. So I'm very thankful to have Stephen here to talk through that. And yeah, take it away, Stephen.
Sure. This is Stephen Loomis, and I'm come to you not from a beehive, but from Austin, Texas. Here, can you see my screen here with the?
Yep, you're good.
CLDR, great. Okay, so CLDR, is the screen still sharing? It lost its little box around it.
I can see.
I'll share it. I'll share it again.
No problem.
I just want to make sure it's actually getting through here. Here we go. Okay. So CLDR, cldr.unicode.org. So what is CLDR? So in Node.js, you can access a number of features which are language specific. You might be able to print the current date in your own language. You might be able to order text according to language specific ordering. And the data for that, it's actually quite a large amount of data, hundreds of thousands of data items, comes from a project called CLDR. CLDR is a part of the Unicode Consortium, which is responsible for the text encoding that makes everything that works as well as it does today work. But the CLDR is a project. It actually originally was a part of ICU, which is the C, C++, and Java library that Node.js uses. And CLDR was originally just the data subdirectory of ICU. But to be able to maintain it cross-platform, cross-organization, cross-industry, it was spun out a number of years ago to its own project. CLDR is used basically everywhere. You can read the details on cldr.unicode.org. Node.js is in there somewhere, I think. Nope, should be there. Anyway, we'll add it. But anyway, it's been in Node.js since .12, and that's where I kind of got my start into the Node.js project and the wonderful community that it is. Really quick introduction to CLDR. It's an XML data format. There's a Unicode spec, which is called TR35. And TR35 will explain to you all the different data items. But I'm going to jump right into GitHub for this. So I'm going to grab, let's see. Oops. Let me go right into GitHub here. And so if we jump into GitHub and go to like common, what's a good language we should pick here? Preferred language?
Chinese.
Chinese? Okay, so if we go into Chinese, ch.xml, and we want to know what Tuesday is. So here's the abbreviated dates here. I can zoom that in here. So here we go. Here's formatting. Here's Yiqing Yi, I think. Yiqing R, Yiqing Sun. So here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you can fill in the rest. But here's the translations for these. So this is where this data actually comes from in XML format. It's available in JSON format as well, kind of as an extraction. But how do we decide if this is right or wrong? You can file a bug report, and that's the way we used to manage this. But the way it's managed these days is through process called the survey tool. So I'm going to log into the survey tool here on my local system. And let's go take a look. So let's go to Chinese. Chinese simplified. Wait, Chinese. Okay. So I'm going to Chinese. I'm going to go to date and time and Gregorian. And let's look for our I Ching. Oh, those are months. There's days. Here we go. Here's our days. So, do I have Chinese set up here? Maybe not. I have Japanese. I can maybe fake it. So here's our translations of these items, and these are voted on. But what I can do is I can. Oops, hold on here.
Can you explain the process of voting just briefly?
Yeah, I can. Let me just bring up something here. Yeah, so basically the voting process is that you can, different people will work together to try to agree on what the best translation is. And so if there's not agreement on that at first, then people can work together to come to an agreement. And so what you can do is if I make a change, I might say this should be translated as, oops. I'm just trying to. Oh, I'm in the wrong keyboard. That's why.
It's Japanese there.
Yeah, it's Japanese day, but it's not set up properly.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. I get what you're saying.
Okay,
so you could suggest a translation.
There we go. That's what I want.
Yeah, right. Like
yeah, it's at least got the right. You said the right character, right? So I can choose this. And I'm voting as a super administrator. So anyway, there's discussions that go back and forth. You can open up a forum topic. Or I might just say, this is okay, so I'm going to vote for this. And if I try to do something that's, more strange and doesn't quite match, like if I started to type in, Greek in here, I get a warning that would say,
wow,
this isn't the right. Actually, let me give it the right.
It's not within that character set, right?
Yeah, it's not the right character set. Not sure why Greek. Should have complained about Greek. Let's give it something else here.
I wonder if you gave it do Japanese and Chinese fit within the same character set? Like as far, I mean,
yeah.
I know there's like hiragana and katakana, but as far as the kanji and the
right. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not complaining about the character set here, but in any event, there are a lot of different warnings. So, for example, if you try to vote for Thursday, it would say, hey, this isn't right because this is the these characters are not in the exemplars, right? So it'll give you warnings about those. So kind of aid you through the process. So, but there's quite a few items. If you look at the different types of things, there's currencies, there's time units. I'm going to switch. I'm going to switch over here to. Oops. I'm going to switch over to Antarctica. Just so I can do some more clear demonstrations here.
Yeah,
so we have on the left, we have currencies, we have units, measuring units, so length and such, characters. So this is, the famous emojis. You can translate different items.
Is there
time zones?
Oh, sorry.
So like translations of different zones. Sorry, you had a question?
It was kind of a superfluous question, but is there any collation for emojis? So like, is there any way that you take one emoji and then it doesn't necessarily represent the same thing in one region, but it gets translated to another one if you attempt to use it or anything like that?
Yes. Yeah, you can. There's translations for for the emoji in different regions.
Nice.
Right. So you can basically, yeah, now I get my error for being the wrong type. But yeah, there's translations for the emojis in different regions, and that's why if you're searching for an emoji, you'll get different results depending what language you're in.
Right, right.
And what I was going to show for this too is that the content of this. Let's see if it'll let me enter something. I said this is Vilnius. I'm not sure why is it. Oh, it doesn't like Antarctica. But what it's going to show is that if you behind the scenes, oops, behind the scenes here, it is being turned into, if we went to, J dot, it's being turned back into XML, right? So when we go to Chinese, for example, and we look for Tuesday,
there it is.
There it is, yeah. So our changes here are coming back into, you're coming back into XML.
And so I'm kind of piecing this together a little bit. So during the CLDR TC meetings, during the CLDR TC meetings, when you're talking about the voting process, you're talking about making sure that each of these characters, at some, like there's other things, but these characters and things, the translations are what they should be before they go live, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and then what we can do then is we can look at a dashboard and see what for Antarctica, let's say, what's how is this language doing? Is it something that needs, is there more work that needs to be done? It'll give us kind of a report of what's missing, what's left to do. And so I think, yeah, so I might say, this thing has something that's not in, the right character. And we can also get reports cross organization. So if we go to priority items, let me set this to really basic level. Let's take a while, I can talk about it. But basically what we can do is we can say, hey, where are there items that are missing? Where are there items that there's a dispute? And then we can go in and make corrections to those. And I think what would be interesting is to get some of the language communities in the OpenJS, in the Node.js working groups to be on board with this. And there are a couple of pieces. One is that, there are a lot of places where people are working in, the more major languages. There are already a lot of vetters getting involved. So something, a language such as, the German, Japanese of the world are going to be fairly complete, although there may be something to fill in. But that certainly, if there's a dispute or question comes up, that's where a language expert could come in and help. But also, I think there's also a lot of opportunity in languages that just may not get as much interest. That may not have the big commercial presence. And that's where I think the community-based organizations can come in and help. And we do have the Breton Language Authority and the National Council of Malta involved in working through each of their own languages. But if there are developers and users of Node.js that are interested, anyone can sign up for an account on this, can request an account, but also working through OpenJS, we can have kind of more of a coordinated effort to contribute here.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what would be important within that is to document a good funnel for them. So like if we can outline, the steps on how to get involved and how to do this, based on a language of interest. So essentially create documentation for like a user journey. I feel like that would be the best way to go. Like if you are, choose your language, find,
right.
find the character review or whatever, and then
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I forget what my user is set to. Oh, I'm set to India. This is just a test. It just picks a random organization. So because I'm set to India, it's giving me information about languages of India that need work. And so it says, these ones in Marathi, these ones in Konkani. There's one in Konkani that has an incorrect date pattern. Right.
Is there any like digests or like of inconsistencies or unresolved stuff like this that go out? Because like I think what would be really helpful in a situation like this is if you were subscribed to like a language, and then if you're subscribed to a particular language, then you could receive like a notification on like what is unresolved or whatever. That I think that could be really useful. I don't know if there's any infrastructure like that, but
yeah, there's not there's nothing that goes out as kind of a there's nothing that goes out kind of as a public list.
Nice. Okay.
There's definitely this type of dashboard is something that the CLDR keeps a close eye on.
Right.
Especially we just switched from submit to vetting phase. In other words, most the users are not allowed to enter new values. They just have to choose from within existing values which one is correct. So it's kind of
Gotcha.
It's kind of a narrowing of scope to say, okay, we're done entering all the different translations you can. Now just concentrate on the ones that are there. But I think what could happen is if someone's interested in language, they could go in and say, let's say you're a Marathi speaker, right? You could go into Marathi, and oops, you can go into Marathi here, as I was just saying. Okay, yeah, this is where I have that's a UI corner. But let me go into Marathi from here. This is a development machine we're looking at here. So here's Marathi. And if I go to like a moderate level, I can hit my dashboard, and now I have a list of things to work on, right? So here's one that says, oh, can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear.
Great. I'm just getting some strange stuff here. So I can go in here and I say, oh, here's something that needs work. We need someone to vote for this item. So you can vote for that one. And correct that issue. So this dashboard here, or here's disputed. Look, here's something that's disputed. So you can go in here and click through the link and look at this and say, okay, what's really happening here? Do I want to vote for this item or do I want to vote for this item? Okay, if I vote for this item, I've now corrected this. I'm running as an administrator, but
right.
I've decided that this translation per kilogram is better than this one over here, right? So in other words, what I'm showing is that a user can go in and they can see what are the items that need to be fixed. And if I refresh this panel, that dispute is no longer, oh, I've caused another dispute, but it's changed since I looked at it before. So anyway, the point is that someone can come in. If they're interested in a specific language, then they can go in. The other thing is that as the TC, if we're saying, hey, Marathi, for just picking an example, needs help, do we have any speakers that can come in? What was the language we were looking at? Slovenian, I think, had only one organization that was working on it.
So how does Unicode, I mean, like within the Unicode Consortium, how do you acquire like experts to weigh in on this?
Yeah, so a lot of the work is done by the major corporate full members that are contributing, and they have their own paid translators who are going through this process. And so they look at their lists and say, okay, what languages are we interested in? And then they will have their professional translators work through that process for those languages.
And what about? Oh, sorry.
And so it will depend on what what they want to work on at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fine and great, and it's all contributed back into open data, which is the beauty of CLDR, because everyone benefits from it.
Yeah. And what happens when you have like a lesser spoken language? Say there's like a group of a few thousand people that speak a language that you support. Like how do you source experts on that?
Well, if that's where that can come from the community support. So if there's a language organization, I mentioned Breton. The Breton language organization has an account, and so they can contribute for the Breton language. Right. And so also for a number of cases like that, where there's an organization dedicated to that language, and then they contribute in that language. But otherwise, it could be up to someone who's an enthusiast and just says, I want to help with this language, and they do so. And that could be someone, like I said, from the Node.js working group.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. That was great. That was a really good intro to how you vote on translations within within the survey tool, and like how it ends up becoming XML, in XML format, and that sort of thing. So this is really awesome. I don't want to interrupt your flow. I feel like the next logical step would be like, then how does ICU consume this?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So the way ICU consumes this is that when ICU is built, and I can go to, if I go back out to, not to the marketplace, but if we go back out to ICU itself, also on GitHub, if we look at ICU's data, ICU source data, here we go. If we look at, let's say, data, and bring up locales. We bring up again our zh.text. So ICU has its own. Oops, actually, there we go. So this is a different calendar. Well, let's find. Okay, Gregorian calendar. Day names. Here we go. Okay, so here's our, same example. Now this is in a text format. It's kind of looks like JSON, but not quite. So basically, as a build step for ICU, this data is exported out of CLDR's XML and consumed by and converted into this text file format for ICU. And then ICU builds that into a binary representation for compact access. In fact, it's actually a memory mappable structure. And that's the famous or infamous, ICU data. That's what the full data module loads. But it's something that ICU can memory map directly at runtime. And so it's shareable between multiple processes, with no overhead. And then ICU can directly index into that. So it's a very efficient, runtime, but there's a lot of steps to get there.
Yep.
You wouldn't want ICU even parsing this text format at runtime, much less to parse the XML. There's a lot of rules for the XML about inheritance and various rules about what data you consume. Now ICU will consume a subset of the data, and that's configured in ICU's structure as far as which locales does ICU pick up by default. And I think that's in, oops, it's under data. So ICU has a list of what it actually will pull in. And I think that's in build XML. I forget where that ended up, but in any event, ICU has a specific set of what it pulls in. So if there's a locale that's in CLDR but not in ICU, the best way to get that to happen is to improve the locale so that it has full quality of data, and then it can be requested to be added by default into ICU. Now, if it's not in ICU by default, it's still possible to build the data yourself from the XML into ICU format, generate the binary data, and then you'd have a new ICU data blob that would have that locale. So really, any locale could be added in. I won't say that's a simple single command to do that. There's a couple steps. That's something I'd like to improve if there's interest in that. But it's certainly something where it can be done.
That is awesome.
I was going to talk about CLDR JSON also.
Oh, great.
Unicode org JSON. So CLDR JSON gives you something where you can, I'm going to go for calendar. Yeah. So basically, CLDR JSON gives you something where you can consume it, obviously, as a JSON file. Oops. Yeah, so we can go here under CH-HANS and Gregorian. Now we have the same data here in actual JSON format. And these are available as NPM modules. So if you go up, the module is right here. It's the CLDR dates full, right? So you can go to npm.js. Shouldn't have to search for that, but so here's the JSON package. You can see it's good amount of downloads. But this package is then available to include directly and has all that data.
That's awesome.
So that gives you an easy way to pull in this data for some other purpose. There certainly could be things in here. There's certainly things that may not even be in ICU yet, but they could be made use of. Examples of that might be the annotations. So this, you're asking about, the translations for emoji. This will take a while to load. But anyway, this is what you've got here. So this is, a angled bracket or a, right square bracket
awesome.
translated into that.
Wow.
Of course, you've got those, and you've got a.
Yeah, look at that. That's great.
All the translations.
Wow.
So you've got all those localizations available, and that's again, that's a different package. But that's available for use, and so that's something you could pull in, even if there wasn't something in ICU that supports it. It's something you could, build some other component.
Absolutely. I think, like, in the interest of putting it all together, would you be able to do like a brief, just like a kind of a data story of how, in Node, when you type in something like intl.date format, and language, passing in the language, like how does it work from the ICU side, with the CLDR data?
Yeah.
So like what is ICU actually doing to to translate that?
That would probably be something that would be great as kind of an explainer of some kind. I'm just thinking through it. There's a lot of layers to that.
Yeah.
Probably more than I can, put my hand on.
Yeah, no problem.
Off the top of my head, but
yeah.
But I think it might make an interesting explainer of some kind of how that actually works.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, because if you just use that as one example, it kind of gives you a frame of reference for like what, all the other things that are going on. So it's just like, if I could understand the data story of like when I call that, what is actually going on in ICU, and then how, with the translation here. So that would be awesome.
And that maybe I can try to make a blog post about that or something. I'm not
That would
great
be
about
super.
updating that, but that could be a good way to dig down through the layers. Okay, here you are typing that command. what's actually happening.
Exactly. I can help
pull
you.
that through.
I can help you edit that too. So like if you
Great.
if you want to you know, or if you want me to write part of it, or you know, whatever, like we can collaborate on it. Is all I'm saying. That'd be awesome.
Well, once you write the scenarios, that would be a good start.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I'll write some scenarios up then.
Great.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see, where do we leave off? Where should we go next?
Well, I think that's, you know, that's probably a good intro here. I think as far as the OpenJS Foundation, what we might want to do is to you know, talk to language groups, and maybe even as we discussed on the previous call, if we're going to try to reach out, we can send the link to this video even and say, you know, are you interested in helping out in your language in this way? And if we got some people, maybe what we can do is start with, is it's late for this phase. So I don't think it's probably, I mean, you could jump in and help with vetting, but I think it'd probably be better to just have kind of an organized you know, approach to this. If you look at the current cycle here, what does it say here?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
You know, we're basically here. We just started vetting a couple of days ago. So we'll have data freeze. You know, and then this will go on to.
So probably try.
Anyway,
I think what you're saying is essentially after October 20th would be like a good opportunity to sort of gain interest in this, and then start to move it forward with getting you know, external people vetting. Right. Yeah.
Well, we could start getting interest. But the thing is that we start getting interest, but the thing is we would want to look at you know, when people can actually do something, and so we can start getting, you know, getting discussions going. But it would be and I thought there was something with the next schedule on here, but I don't see it here. But anyway, there's it basically would be later, you know, later that year, later this year, or even maybe early next year, that you'd actually start translating. But if we got the interest going, that would be a good way to get started.
It's a perfect time to do that. Yeah, I think a good opportunity here is to share this video because you definitely gave a wonderful walkthrough of how that process will work for anybody who's interested in their own particular language, to make sure that the translations are A, there, and B, vetted. So I think well, we should start with that. We should definitely get this out, and then if we do like if we write a little blog or something about how it works in addendum as well, and then go from there. I mean, like this is the most accessible thing for people to, you know, just to like kind of, if they're really interested in this, you just saved me and a lot of other people a lot of time just by giving us a tutorial. So I think that's a good place to start, and we can get the wheels turning between the organizations. And then I mean, it's like, this is like the perfect time to be doing this, is all I'm saying, because then we can,
very good.
Then we can you know, get people involved as excited to be involved and having discussions up until that point where they can. So man, Stephen, this has been really awesome, and thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for the time that you spent doing this and making this accessible to me and to a lot of other people, and just excited to continue this conversation and help you as best I can. So yeah, feel free to ping me. I'll start with some you know, a couple scenarios where we can you know, for a blog, and put this out on Twitter and get people interested, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen.
Great. Thank you.
Hey, man. Hey, we'll see you next time.